Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Rogers. I am the Director of Business Management for the PTSD Foundation of America. Today I'm going to be presenting on the PTSD Foundation of America, also Camp Hope. What my intent with this presentation is like some learning objectives, some things I would like you to take away from this presentation. What I'm going to be doing is doing an introduction of the Foundation and Camp Hope, an overview and the signs of symptoms of combat post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, to give you a better understanding of the services provided through the PTSD Foundation of America, the things we do. Our core values as an organization: spirituality, integrity, teamwork, and service. This slide right here is a progression of how we have developed as an organization, starting from 2005, where we, as our executive director like to say, is really just owning a paperclip, moving all the way over to kind of where we're at now, where it's a 85. We can house up to 85 veterans at our facility in Houston called Camp Hope. What is post-traumatic stress disorder? Post-traumatic stress disorder is one of the conditions that can sometimes happen from exposure to combat. And having PTSD does not mean that you are broken. It really means that you were put to the test and you didn't fall apart. Combat PTSD is defined as a specific type of post-traumatic stress disorder experienced by men and women who have been in combat. Combat PTSD can happen to anyone in combat, from those who have experienced live fire to those who have support workers in a war zone. So you don't necessarily have to be, frontline workers in a firefight direct to experience combat PTSD. You could be in a combat zone or area and have combat post-traumatic stress disorder. Right now we're going to watch a video that kind of gives an idea on what we do as an organization and kind of some struggles that veterans have that may have combat post-traumatic stress disorder.
The unseen wounds of war have a name: PTSD. Veterans continue to suffer rather than ask for help. We can only imagine what has happened.
Looks like we gonna die today.
But we see the effects.
The war's over. Get over it, man. You're home now.
That's what you say every time. You going on with me. You have no idea what I've been through.
I don't even know you anymore. It's just like the other day when you didn't come home.
Come on, Mike.
They've carried many burdens. Asking for help shouldn't be one of them.
PTSD Foundation of America Veterans Line.
They answer the call. We answer theirs. PTSD Foundation of America. Find out more today.
Some of the symptoms that may manifest themselves in an individual who has post-traumatic stress disorder, and more in particularly in this case, combat post-traumatic stress disorder. Sometimes they can exhibit one, or oftentimes it's a multitude of many of the symptoms that I'm going to list now. And it's just a brief overview, it's nothing in depth. Physically, a vacant stare, rapid heart rate and breathing rate and sweating, cognitive, their ability to think, trouble making decisions and difficulty with memory, Emotionally, there's fear, panic, anger, helplessness, hopelessness, despair. Oftentimes I see this as one of the bigger ones, especially when they isolate themselves and they really feel like they're the only ones that are on, that are struggling with this. And this is one of the bigger ones that I see. Behavioral, these two kind of go inside with each other, the emotional and behavioral. If they're having emotional issues, oftentimes they'll manifest themselves in behavioral problems, withdrawal and or difficulty in relationships, eating and sleeping changes. Spiritual is their anger at God, their whatever belief system is that they've had at that time. It can oftentimes be some damage there spiritually. So those are some of the symptoms.
Some of the most
The question is asked, as an organization, how do we reach our veterans? There are several different ways in how we reach our veteran. One of them is the chapter and warrior groups that we have nationwide. We have these spread out across 8 states. And within these groups are combat veterans who are leading, the warrior groups, where you have a group of combat veterans who sit in a circle and they talk through a lot of the issues and things that they have. And really it's facilitated by this combat veteran who's gone through some of these courses and that we offer as an organization that help these veterans facilitate this class and really kind of help the unseen wounds of war that a lot of the other veterans don't feel like they have a safe place in which they can talk about some of these things that they're struggling with. Here are some of the locations that we have as an organization: North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, a bunch of different locations in Texas, in our headquarters at Camp Hope in Houston, Colorado, Arizona, northern Southern California, Oregon, and then we used to have one in Washington, but we no longer have one in Washington. This is the listing of our where we have our chapter groups. Camp Hope it's a residential treatment facility, and while the warrior groups are out in the front lines, Camp Hope does something a little bit differently from the warrior groups. In the intent, if an individual comes across in a warrior group who is more in need of more in-depth services that can't necessarily be done by the individuals hosting this warrior group, with the agreement of the veteran, they will go to Camp Hope. And Camp Hope is a 6-month residential program, and it's completely free to not only the veteran but also their family as well. Many of the staff who are going through and who are mentors, peer-to-peer based mentoring, they are graduates of the program. There are 4 phases to the program: the black, red, yellow, and green. In black phase, for instance, when they first get here, they are literally blacked out of everything. Their phones are turned over. There's no contact with the outside world. And the intent behind that is oftentimes they don't want to focus inwardly. They try to do things that really kind of focus outwardly to kind of deflect. With this, what we get them to do is we really want them to kind of focus inwardly and get to the crux of the problem of what has gotten them to where they're at right now and how we can work on that. The only way that we could do that is we have to get them to focus internally. And we have to remove some of those outside influences that could really get their focus off of focus internally. The program addresses the mind, body, and soul. It's really a holistic program that gets to the crux of any potential problem that has gotten the veteran to a point in their lives where they're no longer functioning to where they should be functioning. No other organization in the country provides housing for the entire family like we do, or care for the entire family for that matter. This is the completion of the Weatherford House. The Weatherford House is on the back part of our property at campus at Camp Hope, and we're hoping to use this as a transitional piece where the veteran and the family can come together and kind of reintegrate back together. So it's not really the cold turkey. Once this veteran finishes the program, we can start introducing that piece together and really kind of get the family unit working back together like it should. What is the ultimate goal with what we do? The ultimate goal with what we do is to prevent veterans from killing themselves. we can look at statistics, and it varies between 20 to 22 a day. And it's really to combat post-traumatic stress, which can often lead to veterans killing themselves, and to give back to those who have given selflessly for themselves, and really to increase public awareness of PTSD, especially within veterans. On an average, 20.6 veterans die by suicide each day, and oftentimes that number changes year by year depending on statistics. But even then, this number doesn't capture ones who accidentally kill themselves by overdosing on drugs. I mean, there's a lot of things that this number doesn't capture, so in turn it can actually be a lot bigger than the 20.6. Here, if you want to look at this piece right here, like as an organization, we have Camp Hope kind of at the center, and then here's what we do within some of the other parts that really kind of focus on the residential part, but then how do we supplement this residential piece? Peer-to-peer mentoring, combined resources, the family programs, the spiritual aspects, and then the warrior groups. So it's really kind of a lot of different facets to it that really solidify what we do at Camp Hope. Special events. The special events that we do are really one, to raise awareness for the post-traumatic stress disorder and veterans, and then also for us as an organization. What we would really like within part of this is really just kind of educate you, and hopefully that you will spread the word about what we do as an organization, that really, because we'd really love for this to be on the tip of every veteran's tongue. So in the event that a caregiver or a veteran who is experiencing some of these issues would have another resource that they could feel like they could reach out to in order to get the assistance that they need. Here is my contact information. My email, ryan.rogers, ROGERS, @ptsdusa.org. Or you can also learn more about our organization at www.ptsdusa.org. Again, that is www.ptsdusa.org. Thank you for your time.